I'm the social media manager at Airbnb. I flew here from San Francisco to be with everyone today, and I couldn't be more excited. So, a little bit about Airbnb. As you guys know, Airbnb is a trusted community marketplace for people to list, discover, and book accommodations around the world. Now, there used to be, all sorts of places that you can stay, and still are. There's my favorite treehouse here in Lincoln, Vermont. This is something that would probably end up in any architecture magazine here in Germany. Beautiful. Here is a boat that you could rent in London, that if you don't like your neighbors, you could just leave, no problem. And this incredible home in Bali, in Indonesia. Now, how did this all start? I mean, people know the history sometimes. I like to remind people. But it started with this airbed, right? Back in 2007 in San Francisco. And now, Brian, to give you a little context, who's at the far right, had about $1,000 to his name. He just moved up from LA. And he saw this airbed, and what he saw was potential. 99.9% of everyone else thought he was just crazy. But he saw potential. That's interesting because now when you talk to hosts and you start asking them, you really got to go out and meet them finally. You got to go out to your top markets, whether it's New York, San Francisco, wherever we were at the time. And you ask them, what's this potential for you? What's this mean for you? For many people, it was 2007, 2008, tough economic times. A lot of people were using this potential to stay afloat, to meet financial needs, right? A lot of these people were saving up for something big. Maybe that was a daughter's wedding. A lot of these people wanted to feel empowered to spend more time with loved ones. Maybe just kind of monetize this unused space to tailor fit something that they realized was important to them. So this was the magic. Now, take a look at this map of San Francisco, where I'm from. Now, these little dots are Airbnbs that are dispersed all across the city. 72% of them are actually not within the city center, which is Union Square. And now, if you really break it down, the way we see it is a win-win-win. Now, if you're a traveler with something like Airbnb, you don't have to stay in Union Square. You can go throughout different neighborhoods, and you have access to otherwise something that you never had access to before. And we believe in this. It's something we really have close to our heart, the sense of authentic local travel. So that's a guest win. Now these guests, they're coming to all these different dispersed neighborhoods, right? 60% are spending throughout their trips are spent exactly in that local neighborhood. So we feel it's a win for the local economy as well. Now, we know that Airbnb makes a huge, huge difference in the local economy. So for hosts, we know that 42% use their Airbnb income for essential living expenses, upwards to 56% on things like rent or mortgage. So it's a host win. So a win for the traveler, getting a sense of what's real, what's local about this city. The win for the local economy, a lot of these funds are being moved around away from city center. And it's a win for our hosts in realizing this potential that we kind of discovered. So this is a very happy graph. I don't know how many graphs that you'll see will look like this. We're very proud of this number. For people who can't see, it's 4 million now guests who have traveled using Airbnb. 3 million of those people actually came from 2012. Now, we did a lot last year. If you've been following us, we did a ton, and I'm tired. I'm very tired. They definitely challenged us, to say the least. But when we really thought about it, much of 2012 really boiled down to global growth through local love. Love, I know, really crunchy granola word, love, right? I'm not sure how it fits into business. So I can go on and on and on about Airbnb, but let's be real. You guys didn't come here to see me talk and pitch Airbnb. Many of you actually already know Airbnb, so I'd like to kind of transition to some of my thoughts and stories that really inspire me with social at Airbnb. So I want to say that you'll hear best practices, lists and lists of things to do and not to do. And I would challenge all of us, being that we're all informed, we all know what's going on, to really see if this is a good fit for your company or yourself. So in social, everyone talks about engagement, for example. Everyone talks about connecting with users, but this is only as effective as the story you're trying to tell, right? So it could feel empty in many ways. So I would challenge best practices. I would challenge it because if it's best practice, that everyone could potentially doing it. The reason why is what's unique to you, and I think that you should explore that. So I don't know if you guys follow this page. I'm a huge fan. It's called the Condescending Corporate Brand page. It is fantastic. It actually teaches me a lot about what not to do. And I think I asked in this slide, is this what we've become? I completely apologize if anyone's from Burger King or represents Burger King, but I am going to pick on Burger King today. The answer is no. We are not becoming this. We shouldn't, at least, and we should aspire to actually be much better than this. So what do all these likes and comments and engagement, what do these shares mean if they're completely empty, right? It's a sobering reminder that social only helps support essentially what that greater message is that we're trying to tell. So the fun fact here is just because it's cool, just because it's interesting, just because it gets engagement, doesn't mean anything, actually. Doesn't make it valuable. You shouldn't equate that to value. You should really define what that value is for yourself. So, this is kind of a morbid slide. Write your obituary. Gosh, you know, maybe for some people this seems obvious. Maybe for others it's a nice reminder. For me, if you think about an obituary, it's simplified, it's distilled, right? It only highlights exactly what is the most meaningful and most memorable things about who you are, and perhaps what you should have people share about you to other people. If you understand your obituary, again, sounding very, very crazy, these are the things that matter, right? These are the things that should inform your storytelling. So these are the points that guide you. If you have a really strong understanding, we know, many of you know, that content is king. If we use your obituary to guide your sharing points across all different touch points, then I think you're much better off. So I want to share with you a host from Canada in the UK. Her name is Tessa. It's a short video. It's actually something that I'm proud to say has never been published. It's made just for you guys. It's an interview that we did to kind of get a better understanding of what really motivates hosts all around the world, not just in San Francisco, for example. And we know that hosting essentially changes people's lives, and the reward is quite immeasurable. We speculated, we knew. But when we heard this story of Tessa, it kind of locked it in for me. It made me feel like I roll out of bed and I feel really good about coming in because it answers that why. So I want you to enjoy this video of Tessa.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you went from this working 100 hours a week as, you know, a location manager in film to doing what you do now?
Because I was very fit and had always worked really hard, I carried on until I literally drove myself into the ground, and I got something called ME. ME, put it simply, is your hard drive's gone, or you're working on an empty battery. And I carried on working, just feeling dreadful, until basically my body stopped. ME is incredibly isolating. You're on your own most of the day, you can't have conversations with people, you're usually lying in a dark room. I got to a stage where I thought, if this is always going to be so, what can I do? And what Airbnb has enabled me to do is contribute, meet people from all over the world who are on the whole really, really interesting. I can do things at my own pace, I can have people when I choose, I don't have to worry about the financial future. Being on my own and thinking, how on earth can I be with this? To a situation where people come to me and it gives me energy and it inspires me. I've discovered a whole creative side of me. There was a time in my life when I was so lonely that the wind would whistle through me. I thought, this is it. I'm never going to feel different from this. This will always be so. And this will always be so is the biggest hurdle to get over.
Yeah.
And I had that for many years.
Yes.
And I don't have that now.
That's the story of Tessa. What's the takeaway? We believe in her empowerment. We believe in her fighting isolation. So even feeling close to someone, however brief, if she's met them as a guest, it's really important for her. So not just rational benefits here. So that's the guest side. I mean, that's the host side. This is the guest side. I want you to meet Dave and Harmony, beautiful young couple. They decided to take the most memorable trip, or wedding in this case. They decided to get married in one of our actually most popular listings, which is a tree house shaped as a mushroom dome in Aptos, California, next to Santa Cruz by the ocean. Delighted by the experience, they went out and took most of their honeymoon on Airbnb as well. What's the takeaway from them? They believe in a certain accessibility to the unique. We believe in that. We know that access trumps ownership. You've heard the founders, you've heard the talking points. We believe this. We try to live it. So it's important that perhaps that you sift past the content, past the words, past perhaps even some rhetoric with some companies that you work with as well. And you have to ask this very sobering question. Walking the walk it's really tough, right? Are you really, is your product doing exactly what your content is saying? Sometimes there's a huge divide here. And people, I'm sorry, are very smart nowadays. They're very astute. Their BS detectors are very sharp. And they'll be the first to tell you, I don't really believe you, or I think you're full of it. So I think that if we are really, really wanting to commit to saying and doing what we believe, you have to make sure that your product reflects that as well. So what we're doing is earning credibility by doing exactly what we believe in our product, right? So take a look at what we did last year. Neighborhoods. I love this product. It's so, so cool. So we honestly believe what we discussed with what Dave and Harmony experienced with the Mushroom Dome, that the most meaningful trips, the most meaningful experiences happen at a very local level, right? They're authentic. So we had this huge global effort, this huge undertaking to gain all these cultural small nuances at a very local level. We launched in 7 cities, more coming soon, to help people have a very informed decision on where to stay in Boston, where to stay in Amsterdam, where to stay in Chicago, New York, you name it. But also help them discover places they might have missed along the way. So it's this beautiful marriage of utility, that being, where the heck do I stay when I come to a city? And this joy and this imagination, this magic of wanderlust, right? Again, we go for both. We want the utility, but we want people to play. We want people to enjoy themselves and be delighted. So from a technical standpoint, yes, we know this is meaningful content, but it's fantastic SEO. Fantastic SEO. So when you think about SEO, think about what your content is saying. So the background to this is 2,500 active Airbnb photographers worldwide and 11,000 neighborhood pictures captured. So no small feat. It's very busy 2012. So again, in our product, we have a very robust reputation platform as well. Through Facebook Connect, you can see friends with the host. You can see alma maters. You can also see reviews that your friends wrote. Now think about this. What we're doing here is casting a really wide and ranging net. We can see that people are spreading the word about Airbnb in a way through candid reviews, and we want people to see that transparency. So in terms of awareness, hey, it's a great way to kind of have friends validate for you. So we also did this thing last year that I love called Wishlist, and it's not, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it's social bookmarking, right? It's something we've seen before, but packaged in a very smart way for Airbnb. So if you think about it, Airbnb is this simple search. You search, you book. This is an extension beyond the transaction. Why? Because we want to delight you. This puts you clearly, very explicitly into an exploratory mode. You're able to kind of wander, play with the site, see, set us your intent, essentially, on what your travel dreams are, right? It helps us understand. So it made Wishlist made Airbnb much more visual, beautiful, and much more share-worthy, which is the whole point with social. You gotta be share-worthy. You gotta exercise restraint. These are some of the best, most curated properties from ourselves and also friends of friends. So this sense of collection, curation, and sharing really makes sense for us. So to give you some statistics, 4 million hearts now up to date on our site and growing very drastically. 700,000 wish lists have been created, and 77% our wish lists are public and being shared.
Could you please explain how these wishlist works?
So if you go to the site and you see an amazing listing that you like, if you heart it or you favorite it in many ways, it will show up as a list that you can start collecting and basically sharing with your friends. And also we work very tightly with Facebook integration to make sure that this goes out and is spreaded. But it's meaningful content, it's interesting content that you can share. So it's eye candy in many ways, right?
Is this also used for pushing sort of advertising? Like, do you use that favorite list, and if something is an extra, if there is there's a discount on that specific spot, do you highlight that for the users as well?
No, we don't use any gaming dynamics for something like this. We feel that with something like this, it's like short-term gain for long-term identity loss comes to mind. So I think it's nice to offer carrots from time to time, but I'm a big fan of offering carrots in a way where it's unexpected. You think that that's actually probably a smarter way of going about doing it. We can talk more after. So customer love. Again, that squishy love word, right? That L word. It's very appropriate. Day like this, Valentine's Day. It's February 14th, y'all. So customer service is not only something that I'm particularly passionate about, it's just kind of the right thing to do, right? You spend a whole lot of money potentially, a whole lot of effort. We build the products, we create the content to get you into the Airbnb experience. This focuses on paying attention and making sure we're having it be worth holding on to them, right? We're giving them many, many, many reasons to stick around. So not only is the result great marketing, but it's very much a core competency of our brand. So the love kind of fuels our ongoing success, because we know that the best customer that we have is actually the customer that we already have. So if a lot of people are talking about generating lots of users, lots of likes, lots of followers, well, we also think of social as ways to keep them around, keep them reminded of us in many ways. So let's unpack that. I don't want to give you a glossy slide and just leave you alone with this. I owe it to you guys. There's the two ways that we do it at Airbnb is both. There's one way, which is most companies do, and they do it fairly well, is the reactive side. So this is the daily firefighting dynamic. This is like, hey, it's a combustible situation with Snippet. Let's take care of it right away. So we respond. Our style is very empathetic. We respond very honestly. We tell people, okay, calm down. Let's get to the bottom of it, and we're caring and we try to support them as much as we can. In terms of tooling, we use Hootsuite, and we back that up with Zendesk. So it's a scrappy approach, maybe not the most robust or sophisticated approach. But with Hootsuite, we noticed that we can get enough utility to track essentially all those conversations as they're happening, and we don't bump into each other in many ways. And then we have a team dedicated on the social customer service side that then, if need to, they create tickets from the plugin with Zendesk using Hootsuite. So if you were to summarize, the Hootsuite assigns and kind of keeps track and can do some CMS, and then Zendesk is a way to kind of track tickets into our customer service CRM. So not only is that a tooling issue, but it's a partnership between departments, right? We realize that social can't live in just marketing. We know that it has to transcend marketing and go into other departments such as customer service. Just too much overlap. So what I like to share with you guys is the fun stuff. I mean, the proactive stuff is what really gets me going. So yes, you have to protect your brand. Yes, you have to maintain health, but we love to delight, as you guys have heard. So very in line with things like Zappos, you've heard it all before. We give local tips. It doesn't come at a cost, right? Most people at this point, oh, Dan, what's the ROI? And I respect the ROI. I think the ROI is important, and I think that we can do both, right? So a lot of companies might balk. A lot of groups might balk at this point and be like, oh, don't really see it. It's on a clear path to that ROI. But we know, for example, that it doesn't always have to come at a cost, and we shouldn't assume that it comes at a cost. For example, often I'll get tweets that say, hey, I'm going to Berlin. I'm super excited. Maybe they're an Airbnb guest. Maybe they're not. And you know what I'll do? I'll take the time. I've been to Berlin. Lots of my colleagues have been to Berlin. I'll go and get like 5 restaurants. I'll pick them out. Go to Dada Falafel in Berlin. Amazing. Really, really good falafel. Really good. And I'll tweet them. And I'll say, don't miss out on the falafel. Pro tip. and I can't tell you how many retweets I get and how many engagement points that I get and how many people that are delighted by that. It's not. It doesn't come down to money. It's just coming down to caring sometimes, and you just have to do that. So we crowdsource tips as well. So, you know, we get a tip. Hey, at Airbnb, I'm going to Tokyo, and I was like, I love Tokyo. I lived in Japan. I could tell you all about it. But as opposed to, you know, taking all the glory and giving them my pro tips, I retweet that. It's super simple. Hey guys, XX person is going to Tokyo. What do? What's your cheat sheet? Probably easily the most engaging thing on a day-to-day basis. Have people tried Airbnb before? Retweet that. No problem. All the validation comes in from people who can speak on your behalf, right? Because you've earned that credibility, you've earned that trust with them. Why? Because you do good things. So another thing is that we pick out listings, suggest neighborhoods, you name it. Another thing that we do is we recognize and reward fantastic contributors, whether that be host or guest. So they're unsolicitedly helping each other. Reward that, recognize that. Even if it's like a high five, thank you very much for being a great community member. Maybe we'll kick them a $25 coupon. Going back to the gentleman's question, like, when do you reward? Where do you incentivize people? Incentivize people when they're not expecting it because they're delighted completely. So we also latch on to any type of thing, like if we see anniversaries, we see birthdays, we see anything like that, no problem. We can go for that, send flowers. We actually encourage our representatives, our customer service representatives, to feel in a position where they can do this on their own. They all have accounts. They all have a budget. Ooh, making it right. So I got this tweet from a gentleman. Note, he's not Brad Pitt or Lady Gaga or Justin Bieber or whomever. Just a normal guy. His name is Adam Jackson. He's a host of ours. And he goes, I could feel the pain in his tweet. It was very it's very hard to read this because I'm a fan too. He goes, I think my last Airbnb guest stole my pizza cutter. It's very random. Tweets Adam Jackson. Gosh, I love pizza. I don't know about you guys. I love pizza. And I'm like, yeah,